Greetings of the day, dear students. We have been discussing unit number 2 of sanitation microbiology. The previous class we have seen the major sources of water and single dwelling and municipal water supplies. And the next important aspects is water purification. In water purification and sanitary water microbiology, one of the important topic is known as indicator microorganisms. And the next topic illustrated in the syllabus, indicator microorganisms and their importance. So, as you all know, the routine microbiological examinations we have already done in our lab that has so many microbiology lab tests, and one of the important lab tests is based on the detection of indicator microorganisms. And what is the basicity for this? The routine microbiological examination of water to determine the potability is not and should not be based on the conventional isolation and identification of pathogenic microorganisms. So, generally in microbiology, the isolation and identification of microorganisms are the major aspects in microbiology. But in the case of checking the potability of drinking water, so the potability means the water should be safe to drink. The test that is used to check the potability is not based on the isolation and identification of bacteria. So this is mainly due to several reasons. Number one, the pathogen that is contaminated in the water may enter a water supply sporadically, and they may not survive for very long time, and they could be missed in a sample submitted to the lab for the uh, detection. So the pathogen, they may enter into the water body sporadically, and they may not survive in the water for a very long time, and there is a chance that if you submit the water sample to the laboratory, the lab may not be able to detect the microorganism that is contaminated in the water. There are such a kind of cases may happen. Or the second one, if the number of bacteria that is contaminated in the waters is very small number, then the pathogen may not be detected by the lab procedure. Okay, so if the number is very small, then there is a chance that the pathogen may not be detected by the common lab procedure. The third one is all the laboratory examination of water protocol will take at least 24 hours or 48 hours to get the result, and by the time the pathogens are found, many people might have consumed the contaminated water and would be exposed to this bacteria before any action is possible further. So that is another important problem. Most of the tests, they require 24 or more than that to get the result from the test. Meanwhile, or by that particular time, many individuals might have consumed the water, and there is a possibility that may be exposed this bacteria by those individuals before any action can be taken. And due to all those reasons, the microbiologists have developed the water testing techniques that do not depend conventional isolation and identification of pathogenic bacteria alone. So there are so many, the above said reasons, the routine protocol for the analysis of the water sample from any water samples are not only depend on the isolation and identification of pathogenic bacteria. Instead, The tests that are based on finding a microorganism whose presence indicate the possibility of the presence of pathogenic bacteria in the water. That means if you identify some bacteria and this bacteria should have a close resemblance to the pathogenic bacteria and they should be exactly grown in the way how pathogenic bacteria are proliferating in the water, and this bacteria's presence should indicate the possible presence of the pathogen. Thus, these bacteria are known as indicator microorganism which indicate, which are non-pathogen, that is commonly present in water, but the detection of this bacteria indicate the possible pathogenic organism in the water. And the indicator microorganism thus serve as an alarm system for water quality analysis. So that gives a warning. Indicator microorganism, if you identify, this may give you a warning that probable pathogenic organisms are present. So, indicator microorganisms are the organisms whose presence in water is the evidence that the water is polluted with the fecal material from human or other warm-blooded animals. Such kind of organisms are known as indicator microorganisms. So, indicator microorganisms are the organisms whose presence in water is the direct indication that the water is polluted with the fecal material from human or any other warm-blooded animals. So, this kind of pollution means that any pathogenic microorganism that occur in the intestinal tract of these animals may also present. The kind of pollution means that any pathogenic microorganism that occur in the intestinal tract of these animals may also present. So that is the importance of this indicator microorganism. Thus, indicator microorganism may be defined as these organisms whose presence in water indicate probable presence of pathogens and disease causing organisms. So indicator microorganisms are the microorganisms that are commonly present in the water bodies and whose presence in water indicate the probable presence of pathogens and disease causing microorganisms. And these microorganisms are non-pathogenic, occur consistently in pathogen contaminated water, and do not multiply in waters which are reliable in detecting at a low concentration and are present in greater number than the similar survival time of pathogens. So, these are the features. These microorganisms should be non-pathogenic and that occur consistently in the pathogen contaminated water, and that should not multiply in water, and the results are reliable and that can be detectable even at a very lower concentration and are present in greater numbers than have the similar survival time of pathogen. So these are the major features of indicator microorganism. And the fecal coliform growth has been used as the indicator of bacterial pathogens presence and the general wastewater contamination. So the major group of indicator microorganism that is used for the detection of pathogen in the water bodies are fecal coliforms. Then, what are the major salient features of an indicator microorganism? Or what are the major criteria that is required to call a bacteria into an indicator microorganism? Number one, it is present polluted water and absent from the non-polluted or unpolluted or potable water. The indicator microorganism should present in polluted water and should be absent in the unpolluted water. Then the indicator bacterium should be suitable for analysis of all types of water which are collecting from the water bodies. That we have already discussed the major sources of drinking water such as tap water, river water, groundwater, recreational water, sea water and wastewater. So all this water, the indicator microorganism should present and there should present and suitable for the analysis of this water as well. The next point is the indicator bacterium should be present whenever enteric pathogens are present. That is another important point. The indicator bacterium should present whenever the enteric pathogens are present. Then the next one is the quantity of indicator bacteria should have a direct correlation with the amount of pollution. So that is the next important criteria. The quantity of indicator microorganism should have a direct correlation with the amount of pollution. The indicator bacterium should survive longer than that of the enteric pathogenic bacteria. So the indicator bacteria should survive longer than the enteric bacteria. Then the indicator bacteria should have uniform and stable properties. The indicator bacteria should have a uniform and stable properties. Then it is present in greater numbers than those of pathogenic bacteria and make the detection relatively easy to perform. Okay, so this bacteria should present in greater numbers than the pathogenic bacteria that is already present, and it should make the detection process relatively very easy. Then the indicator bacterium should not reproduce in the contaminated water and produce an inflated volume. It should not reproduce in contaminated water and produce an inflated volume. Then the assay used for the detection of indicator microorganism should have greater specificity. Other bacteria should not give the result for this assay. Okay, so the assay that is used for the laboratory procedure that is used to identify the indicator microorganism should have greater specificity. Other bacteria should not be possible to detect by this particular result or should not get the similar positive result. Then the next point is the procedure should have high sensitivity and detect low level of indicators. So the procedure should have high accuracy and it should have high sensitivity which are able to detect even a low level of indicator microorganism. So next one is the testing method should be easy to perform. The testing method should be easy to perform. Then the indicator should be harmless to the human. Okay, the indicator microorganism should be harmless to human beings. Then the level of indicator bacterium in contaminated water should have some direct relationship to the degree of fecal pollution. The level of indicator bacterium in contaminated water should have some direct relationship to the degree of fecal pollution. Then it is easily detected by the standard laboratory procedure. It should be easily detected by the standard laboratory procedure. So these 14 points are the main criteria to an organism to be considered as indicator microorganisms. Then the major type of indicator organisms are coliforms. Okay, so what are coliforms? So the coliforms are bacteria that are always present in the digestive tract of animals, including human, and are found in their waste. Okay, so the coliforms are the bacteria that is present in the digestive tract of animal as an intestinal flora, which includes human and are found in their waste also. These coliforms in microbiological terms, which are defined as gram-negative, non-sporulating, facultative, anaerobic, rod-shaped bacteria. Okay, so that is known as coliform. And there are two types of coliform: the total coliform and fecal coliforms. So the most basic test for the bacterial contamination of the water supply is the test for total coliform count. This is very, very important. The total coliform count for a drinking water supply detection is very, very important. Then the total coliform counts gives a general indication of the sanitary condition and safety and portability of the water and water supply. If the total coliform gives a high value, undoubtedly we can tell that the organism, that is the water is unable to drink, that is not possible for the human consumption, or that is not potable at all. Then how will you differentiate the coliforms and non-coliform? Similarly, in addition to coliform, there are non-coliform bacteria are also present. The major coliform bacteria is known as E. coli. Okay, and this E. coli is a normal inhabitant of the intestinal tract of human as an intestinal normal flora and other warm-blooded animal and regarded as the fecal coliform bacteria. So the major fecal coliform bacteria is E. coli. Similarly, another bacteria which are non-fecal coliform, that is Enterobacter aerogenes. Okay, these are widely distributed in nature, which are found in soil, water, grains, as well as the intestinal tract of humans and other animals, which are not regarded as the coliform, which are non-fecal coliforms. And these organisms show close resemblance to each other in their morphology and cultural characteristics. These organisms show close resemblance to each other in their morphology and cultural characteristics. So it is very essential to use major biochemical features in microbiological point of view to differentiate the organisms are coliforms or non-coliform, especially E. coli and Enterobacter. So these tests are collectively known as Imvik reactions. So this Imvik reaction is a 4 set of tests. In the first test, that is Intol test, we are going to detect the ability of an organism to produce tryptophan. Okay, ability of an organism to produce Intol from tryptophan by utilizing the enzyme tryptophanase. Okay, so the organism require peptone broth. The peptone has a tryptophan, and the tryptophan, if the organism have an ability to produce Intol, then it will utilize. If the organism is ability to utilize tryptophan, then definitely it will produce an enzyme called tryptophanase, and that enzyme tryptophanase will be utilized to produce the Intol. Okay, so that is Intol test. Then example, the E. coli will be able to produce tryptophanase, and they are able to produce Intol and gives the positive result, which indicate a dark cherry red color at the junction of the test tubes after the addition of the coax reagent that has a chemical substance that is known as para-dimethyl aminobenzaldehyde. But in the case of Enterobacter aerogenes, which shows negative result and that does not have the ability to produce tryptophanase, and they are not able to produce Intol from the utilization of tryptophan. So this is the most important test. So for Intol test, E. coli will give a positive test and the Enterobacter aerogenes will give a negative test. Then the next important thing, most of the organism, the glucose is the metabolic end product and which produce lot of acid to the medium, and that gives the acidity to the medium. Okay, so the amount of this acid can be produced from the glucose. Okay, that is a glucose broth medium that is detected by a pH indicator called methyl red. Okay, so after the inoculation of the bacteria, if the organism is able to produce able to utilize the glucose and they follow typical glycolysis, and it will produce pyruvic acid and similar type of acid, and the pH of the medium from generally 6 that is neutral, it will converted into, or alkaline, slight alkaline to converted into high acidic. That will be detected by using a pH indicator called methyl red. In acidic condition, the pH indicator will give you a dark red color. So Escherichia coli will be able to degrade or able to utilize glucose and produce acidic end product, and thus it will give a dark red color after the addition of methyl red indicator. But in the case of Enterobacter erogens, it will not give a darker acidic end product after the addition of methyl red, because they don't have an ability to utilize this glucose and cannot be produced the acidic end product. Then this organism, they are not able to produce acidic end product. They may utilize the glucose by using some other pathway. Okay, and that is the next test, that is the ability to produce the organism which can be utilized the non-acidic glucose, and that can be produced the non-acidic end product such as acetyl methyl carbinol in the glucose peptone medium, the same medium. Okay, so and in this particular case, this organism will be converted. Okay, will be produced the glucose, and that will be utilized and it will be produced the non-acidic end product such as acetyl methyl carbinol, and the presence of this acetyl methyl carbinol will be detected by the addition of the VP reagents or Biret's reagent A and B. Biret's reagent A is known as alpha naphthol, which act as the catalyst, and Biret's reagent B, it's act as the 40% KOH. Okay, so then when this acetyl methyl carbinol, it will be interacted with this particular 40% KOH in presence of this in presence of this alpha naphthol, it produces a compound called diacetyl, and which produces, okay, it require aeration, and it slowly produce darker, deeper magenta color to the medium, which gives a positive result. So E. coli does not produce the acetyl methyl carbinol because it already have the glucose utilization in this step by acidic production. It will not follow non-acidic end product. But in the case of Enterobacter erogens, it produces E. coli. Okay, the Enterobacter erogens, it produces the non-acidic end product, and which will be detected by VP solution 1 and VP solution 2. Okay, then so in the case of VP, the organism E. coli shows positive result, and Enterobacter E. coli shows negative result, and Enterobacter erogen shows a positive result. Then the next one is citrate utilization test, that is utilization of sodium citrate. So several organisms, they are able to produce citrate as a sole source of carbon. So one of the important aspects, the citrate, once they are utilize the sole source of carbon, they are able to produce the end product such as carbon dioxide from, and this carbon dioxide will be converted, combines with the sodium and produce a sodium carbonate that will be present in the medium, and that is present in the Simmons citrate agar, and that has a pH indicator called bromothymol blue. In the case of bromothymol blue, so once the sodium carbonate is produced, the pH will be increases, and that will be gives a dark deeper Prussian blue color from green color. So there will be growth and the formation of dark deep Prussian color to the in the tube. But in the case of E. coli, they are not having an ability to utilize the citrate as the sole source of carbon, and they will not give you the dark deeper Prussian blue color. So it shows a negative result. So this is the in-weak reactions of E. coli and Enterobacter erosion. In the case of E. coli, the reaction indole positive, MR positive, Voges-Proskauer negative, and citrate negative. But in the case of Enterobacter, the reaction is just opposite. Okay, the indole negative, the methyltrate negative, the Voges-Proskauer positive, and citrate positive. Okay, so these are the important aspects. Then there are other coliform bacteria as well. Okay, the other coliform bacteria are, there are some similar type of bacteria like the several characteristic features that are which are common in some organism like Salmonella and Shigella. So both of them are pathogenic. Okay, and this organism, a major difference in in this particular case, the major biochemical difference is that the coliform ferments lactose with the production of acid and gas, and that can be studied by adding a Durham's tube in the fermentation tubes, and that you will be able to get the color change if the medium has a pH indicator and it has a collection of acid. Then the Salmonella and Shigella do not ferment lactose. So the fermentation of lactose is a key reaction in the laboratory procedure for determining the potability of the water. So that is the important aspects of non-coliform bacteria. So the fermentation of lactose is one of the important aspects. So E. coli does all those things, and but other organism will not. Salmonella and Shigella will not do such kind of a task. Then we can conclude, dear students, today's class. So we have already discussed the introduction, what is an indicator microorganism, the criteria for using as an indicator organism, what are coliform, there are two types, total and fecal, what are the major differentiation parameters of the E. coli and Enterobacter, coliform bacteria and non-coliform bacteria, and other coliform bacteria such as Salmonella and Shigella. So this is all about today's topic. So these are the reference book. You can use Microbiology by Prescott or Pelzar. And thank you, dear students, for watching this particular class. Thank you very much.